Yes, and this is the DEI subcommittee meeting. We'll start with a roll call. We'll go around, oh my goodness, my chair is short. We'll go around the room, just introduce yourself, and Dave, we will start with you.
All right, I'm Dave Alden from Davisville Middle School.
Hi, I'm Chloe Dyhouse. I'm a student, senior at Northeastern High School.
Hi, Rob Mezzanotte, Assistant Superintendent.
Hi, Erin Earl, School Committee Chair.
Melissa Gamma-Kelsey, parent.
James Benz, junior at NKHS.
I'm Jacqueline Lawler, a teacher at DMS.
Jen Lima, school committee member.
William Moss, sophomore at NKHS.
Jane Stokes, parents.
Victoria Cormier, sophomore at NKHS.
Awesome, thank you, everybody. The first thing on the agenda is to approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Did everybody have a chance to review them?
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, can I get a second? I'll second that. All in favor? Aye? Okay, awesome. I am not connected to the internet, so I cannot tell you what the next thing on the agenda is, but
Introduction of new members?
I
Or we-
think it
Oh,
would
we already
be-
did that, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, Unified Spirit Week, NKHS.
Okay, Shivali was gonna give us an update on that.
Yeah, she's,
We can table
should
it.
be here, yeah, she
Okay.
can table it
Or
maybe?
skip
She
it.
Yeah,
should
we'll
be on
skip
it.
that one and go
Yeah.
to the next thing,
Mhm.
which is,
Equity, Title IX, and Wellness Coordinator update.
okay, Rob, that's you.
Yes.
Sounds like get something to not be me.
I know.
Yeah, so just to give a little background, the position of Equity, Title IX, and Wellness Coordinator was posted. It was posted back at the beginning of the year. It was a position that was funded through our ESSER grant, and it was posted as a one-year only position because of the funding source being ESSER. Probably due in part to the fact that it was a one-year only position, we received no qualified applicants to the position. And so we don't have a person obviously in that role. We weren't able to get a qualified person to apply based on the fact that it was a one-year only. So we've put it into the budget for next year as a permanent position, funded through the general fund. And we will be posting it once the budget gets approved. It will be posted for a permanent position moving forward. So, just to give a little summary of the, do you want a little summary of the position?
Yeah, because we
Okay.
have new members who might not
Yeah,
know
okay, all right,
what
so-
the position is.
So the position, it'll be working out of our Human Resources Department. The person will report to our Human Resources Director. We're asking for a person who has a master's degree or higher, who has a minimum of 5 years successful experience as a school district leader in an academic or an operational role. We're looking for the ability to navigate difficult conversations and to work cooperatively with students, families, and staff from various cultural and linguistic backgrounds. A knowledge of pedagogy and curriculum frameworks that can promote equitable and inclusive educational experience. We're looking for a team player with extraordinary communication skills, high tolerance for ambiguity, and comfort in a rapidly changing environment. We're looking for someone who possesses an ability to motivate staff positively, students, parents, and community members. Also, a thorough understanding of federal and local equal employment opportunity laws and regulations. And then other alternatives or tasks as the superintendent may find appropriate for this person. So we're looking for, with this position, what we intend or what we kind of envision this coming forward with as far as the job responsibilities is to really coordinate activities of the district's health and wellness program, including strategic planning, implementation of program functions to increase student and staff belonging. That's been a very intentional focus of our district for the last couple of years, and I think I'm very proud of the work we've done in a collaborative way with our staff to plan events to kind of promote the importance of that. Our recent PD day I think was a great success. We've been getting wonderful feedback from staff members about their experience on that day, and so it's great. I think we have a really strong momentum built there. So we'll look forward to that. So we're also looking at building and developing ongoing and collaborative relationships with internal and external stakeholders and community partners to ensure adherence to the overall strategic direction and internal policies. So again, we want to make sure we are continuing to look outside of our just typical walls of our system to build the partnerships that we hope to build, right? And to do so for an intended purpose, to do so in the name of the values that we've expressed in this committee and also outside of this committee around equity and around diversity, inclusion, wellness, so on and so forth, belonging, obviously. This person will be supporting the district's DEI initiatives and programming by defining clear goals and objectives, and also serving on our committee. This person will work with other departments to lead and develop and implement the district's improvement initiatives aligned with the strategic plan under the superintendent's direction on their behalf. We're looking for someone who's going to be a regular and active listener to employees, students, and community members to gain insight into current concerns and assess the effectiveness of the district's approaches to equity, inclusion, and anti-bias strategies. We're looking for someone who's going to collaborate with our human resources department to recruit, develop, mentor, and retain diverse staff who reflect and or support a diverse and inclusive school community. We're looking to identify and implement internal accountability measures to track progress on equity-based goals. Obviously, we've talked about that quite a bit, both in this committee and also within our school committee. Also looking for someone who's going to assist in developing procedures in responding to district and school incidents that are discriminatory in nature. Always so important. We're looking for someone who's going to work with leadership to ensure the closing of the opportunity and achievement gaps, advance racial equity, and make recommendations to improve the district's performance in these areas. And to conduct necessary research to ensure our curriculum and policies are culturally relevant. So again, we're looking for someone who is going to bring forward a very unique and kind of vibrant perspective and work experience and vision, really, is what we're looking for. And I think that, you know, it all comes down to obviously identifying the right person and then getting that person on board and making them part of our team and having that person work with us and help us grow and become better. So.
Thanks, Ron.
Good.
Do you want to talk about the Unified Spirit Week?
Yeah,
This last week?
That would be great. Rob, I sent you, if you don't mind, pulling up. I just did like a quick little presentation so I can share some pictures.
Do you mind turning on the screen?
Yep. Maybe I'll get out of the way of the screen, which may be helpful. No, you're fine, Dave.
Are you?
Are you? I'm in the middle of the screen.
Just like.
So once it pops up, we'll just have to, I'll just cast it over there.
So I just wanted to just share with everyone, and I'm sure our students can chime in because they were part of the week, but I did want to share with the committee the purpose of this was to kind of spread the message of inclusion and kindness. So in our school, our special ed department really actually brought that forward to us. So we last week we had a Unified Spirit Week, and it was awesome. It was full of different activities. I just wanted to kind of share with this committee because I feel like that's super relevant to the work that we are doing here. Again, Rob, do you mind going to the next slide?
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
Thank you.
It's okay.
Thank you. We are collaborating like on the wing. So this was kind of like the agenda for the week. On the first day, we normally always have morning announcements, which is a little bit of when students will say the pledge, and then there's normally a quote of the week. So we kind of dedicated this week to the quotes that aligned with this spirit, and then also our students in the Sail and Rise program, which was previously known as Transition Academy and Life Skills program. They came in every morning and they did the pledge on the intercom, so that was part of that week. And then on the second day, it happened to be a PD day, so we didn't have students, but there was a few items that were spread out in the spine area so that we could have some materials available in terms of the awareness we were trying to make. And then also there was and you'll see in this presentation, there was a little pledge that we took as a school, and then also there were banners for people to sign, and you'll see that as we go through. Then on third day, we had we had 2 days of assembly where students were invited to grade levels at a time, and Special Olympics of Rhode Island came and did a little presentation on inclusion and what are some of the things that you see as disabilities, what are some of the things that are not available to your eyes, but they exist and what they are, and students had a chance to ask questions, and I'll let our students speak a little bit about, what their experience was. And one of the things that really touched our heart was the presenter said that every time they go to different schools, they have a little different experience. So they say, it's difficult sometimes to talk about these things, and not all the students have a full understanding, so they can be silly or they can ask questions. But they said they were very, very impressed by our students and how they were interacting and how much knowledge they had on the subject and how interested they were in it. So that kind of made us really proud. So we did that 2 days, and then on the last day, we actually had a unified basketball game with Exeter West Greenwich, and it was just really awesome. Our gym was full. We invited different classrooms and teachers to bring their students. We gave them a choice, and a lot of teachers signed up to bring their classes in, so it was like a full audience. It was really an awesome game, and you'll see some video clips here today in this presentation. But Exeter West Greenwich loved it so much, they have invited us to go on Friday to play again, so we are actually going there. And Dave Tober is helping us with all of that, so that was fun. So this was really the pledge that we took as a school. It was part of our announcement, it was part of the assembly. We really wanted to kind of highlight this week and really focus on this subject and this message, which is why we picked it to be like an intentional week of activities leading to the game. And really this was our pledge. I pledge to look for the lonely, the isolated, the left out, the challenged, the bullied. I pledge to overcome the fear of difference and replace it with the power of inclusion. And so I choose to include is kind of going to be our tagline for some branding that we're going to do around that. So this was the banner that was signed by the teachers on the PD day, and students as well will be, this particular piece is only for the teachers on the PD day, but we're gonna include students, and we're just gonna try to make the banner bigger as we go along. And again, this is graphic digital display they have created. So if you come to our school, you will start to see these on walls, posters. So we're just trying to kind of spread the message about the belief and inclusion. And then last piece, just to kind of give you a snapshot, I have a quick little video here that captures most of the things from that day. So.
Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
have been to his English.
Miss Emmy Sharp is here for our introductions. Let's have a round of applause, please.
Good morning. My name is Navaya Khan, and Wendell, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello, good morning. My name is Jordan Sogio. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
So I don't know if the students, you want to add something about the week?
I went to the basketball game. It was great. It was the highlight of my week. Frankly, the highlight of my month. It was so fun, and I thought it was so wonderful how it was like everyone was a part of the spirit. You know what I mean? Like even at like regular games, like I feel like there's a lot of like cheering, and then there's also a lot of booing. But it was like everyone in the gym was rooting for everyone. You know what I mean? And I really thought that was kind of wonderful and happy, and you know, it was like there wasn't a single person in that gym who wasn't filled with joy.
I agree. The basketball game was my favorite part. There were a lot of people there, and there was just a lot of excitement to just be around and participate. It was really cool.
Yeah, I feel like this week, that week, the Unified Spirit Week was like a really great week, especially with the basketball game, and also I feel like everyone was very just like happy to kind of highlight all the kids in the community, and like with when one of the kids would speak at lunch or something, like everyone would cheer them on, and it was just really great to see them be able to kind of be featured and like be welcomed so thoroughly.
I loved seeing all the teachers dressed in blue, and like in there seeing like my English teacher holding up the little thing, and it was just really nice to see everybody like so happy and like passionate about it, and like everybody dressed up for it, and yeah, it was just really like heartwarming and good to see.
All right, so thank you for giving me a few minutes to kind of share that.
That's amazing.
No, thank you for that update. So Rob, the next one is you again. I just wanted to touch on one of the goals and recommendations from this group last year was to provide an equity-focused professional development.
Mhm.
And so that finally, like you just mentioned, happened this
Mhm.
past week, I think it was. So I just kind of wanted to see if you could provide like just a brief like summary of how that went.
Sure.
And maybe what the plans are for future
Sure.
equity-focused professional development.
Yep, absolutely. So on April 2nd, on our professional development day that we held, we invited a speaker, Dr. Keon Murray Johnson from the University of Rhode Island, to come speak to the entire faculty and staff, actually the entire, everybody, district-wide, all employees district-wide were in attendance. She spoke for 2.5 hours. She had a really amazing message, and she's a really engaging speaker who had a very, very important message, and she covered a lot of different topics. But really, I think what I took away from her presentation more than anything was that it was just things to think about and things to bring back with you no matter what your role is, whether you're a classroom teacher, whether you're an administrator, whether you're a building-based person, a central office-based person, whatever your role is, to make sure that you're being mindful of the choices you make, the language you choose to use, what impact it has on people. She really, I wrote down like several things as she was going along, just like little things to remember as like, oh, you know, that's really key that I be mindful of this, or in my role to make sure that like when I'm communicating with people, that we're doing so in an inclusive way, in a respectful way, all those things. So it was really, really powerful, her message. I think that it was really necessary for our community to hear it. I thought the audience was very receptive. Everyone was engaged really throughout. They had some posters that they put up, and then this is how she concluded it. It was like she had asked people to contribute what they would like to start, something they would like to start, something they would like to stop, and something they would like to continue as a district. And so that was a really good way of getting feedback. And I've been corresponding with her a little bit since her talk. She's in the process of kind of like organizing feedback that she got through an anonymous survey that she put out. She's saying that the feedback was really good and really like something valuable. And so she's going to share that with us once she kind of sorts through it. And I'm excited to see that. But she was really tremendous, and it was a great message, and it was great to really get the entire district in the audience to hear what she talked about. Her perspective was really remarkable, and she was very courageous. I will say this: she was very courageous with how she presented. Like she acknowledged some real tough realities of the conversation that she was bringing up, and she acknowledged it not just like among others, but among herself. She talked about. She was like, "This is really hard for me to talk about right now." You know, she was very honest like that, very transparent. I found that to be really. I just thought it was great. I mean, I just thought it was very real. You know what I mean? It wasn't something that she just kind of was like doing. You know, it wasn't routine for her. It was very authentic. That's how I took it at least. It was really good. As far as the future is concerned, so what I would like to see moving forward, and we are planning on getting this in the budget, our Title II grant, which is professional development. That's not approved yet, so we have to wait to see how much money we get in it. But I'm planning on putting money aside next year for the area of professional development in the area of equity. I'm very interested in building our capacity around culturally responsive teaching and culturally responsive leadership. These are practices that are research based and very effective, and they are all encompassing. Meaning it's not just geared towards a particular group of students, for example. It's geared towards all students. And the practices really are, again, very consistent with what Dr. Murray Johnson brought forth. It's in the way that we mentally prepare for the work we're doing in terms of how we present information, how we listen, how we involve others in collaboration, the decision-making process. That goes for leaders at the building level, leaders at the district level. And I'm just gonna say this, like my feeling always is like, I'm very personally passionate about building capacity of leadership. I think we're all leaders, quite honestly, and we all can lead in different ways, in our own roles, in our own capacities. It's not just a person with a title, you know what I mean? It's something that we all have the ability to do in our own way. And I think this culturally responsive practices, they seek to tap into that in people. They seek to build up and empower people to have agency and to feel empowered and to feel as though that their perspective really is valued and can make an impact. So I'd like to see that become something that's a focus of our PD moving forward. And I look forward to working with, whether it's outside agencies, whether it's professionals in the field, but looking to plan some learning in that area in our district and grow that capacity is something I'm looking forward to.
Okay, great. I look forward to hearing more about that. I appreciated the presentation, and I think it's a great start for the conversation. And I think that's what it was a start. And I think my hope is that, the last PD, Equity Focused PD was in 2019. And I want to make sure that we're continuing the conversation much more sooner than that. Because that was the lack of the need for PD was one of the strongest needs identified in the equity audit, and looking at those, like just the quick little start continue things with the feedback from our district itself, definitely PD came out as a need, even from the teachers in our district.
Absolutely, and I can't speak for the past. I can say moving forward, it's definitely this is right among the top priorities. And again, this is central to our work, right? It's central to the type of education that we are trying to improve upon. So yeah. I mean, I can't. I know we're just talking at this point, but this is a central focus of our professional learning moving forward, and I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be great. I think we have a staff that is really eager to learn in this area, and I think we're excited for the work ahead. It is exciting work. It's professionally very enriching.
Anybody have any questions, comments on PD?
I enjoyed the day very much. It's the second time that I have heard her speak, and she actually took some things from what happened during our the first time she spoke to us, and mentioned them in her speech this time. She was very engaging, and put a lot of thoughts into a lot of people's heads, I believe.
Good.
Yes.
Yes, that's great. Anybody else? Okay. All right, Rob, you're up again. Equity vision statement.
All right, I'm going to pull up our kind of draft. Pardon the sort of informality of this, but you may remember from last time we met, the equity vision statement is what we discussed, and we had a great conversation. We had a lot of feedback. We had a lot of good, honest and roundabout discussion that I thought was really good. So I took notes during that, and I brought this back. So this is from our March meeting on March 20th, and this was just a quick. Again, this is Rob's notes, so bear with me. But this was kind of like my takeaways from that day. Was we talked about making a language change to include all community members, not just students. And so I kind of just put in quotes here, NK community school members. We made a note to include a statement that is student focused in addition to the whole community. So while we're moving to the whole community, we're also including an individual statement within it that is student focused. We talked about removing the word regardless, that didn't read well, and rewording that, so I'll read it to you in a minute, but I try to do my best. We talked about replacing ability with disability potentially, but we were going to wait for Mary LaPresti, who was going to a conference and had this as a talking point that was going to come back with it. So we're going to hold on that and see what Mary comes back with. We talked about changing the voice of some of the sentences from passive to active. I got my good English feedback, my red ink on some of my sentences, which was good. So we tried to do that, and then we also looked at trying to incorporate the word kind, some simple, direct words that were kind of more student friendly and more maybe speaking to various age levels and not just older adults. We splitting the last sentence into two sentences, and then we wanted to change the word fairness, and we put maybe empathy, kindness, both. And then we also asked some questions. We talked about how to convey this, that all have a role in moving this forward, not just adults. Again, this might be like more after work, beyond the statement, but that was one thing we discussed. We also talked about how to include relationship between teaching and learning for all as a teaching and learning specific mention. And then also we looked at and discussed the structuring of the DEI website to directly reference intentional policies, practices, and partnerships aligned to the statement. I know that's Shivali's favorite.
No, you did not. Which or Gilligan's Island? Which one is that?
No.
I dream of change.
Yep.
You're safe though, because your students definitely don't know what
They definitely don't.
Everybody knows my favorite sitcom.
Yes. All right. So, so we talked about that, the website piece of where I really like this idea, because I always like to think in that linear way where it's like we have goals, we have values, we have vision, and then we have like straight lines to policy and practice, and this is what we've done, and it's kind of provides that nice, clear, like here's how ideas become real, and so I like that idea. So I very much am on board with that. So anyway, moving forward. So these are the edits that I made on my own, and we can look at together. The yellow language is new, so I'll just go ahead and read it. In North Kingstown schools, we envision a learning community where all belong, all members of the NK educational community, no matter their race, ethnicity, language, religion, socioeconomic status, gender identity or expression, country of ancestral origin, sexual orientation, interrupted education status, ability, or background, will thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. We commit to fostering an inclusive and equitable educational environment that celebrates diversity, embraces individual strengths, and ensures that all are empowered to reach their full potential. Everyone in our learning community will apply their learning in ways that are both personally meaningful and socially responsible. Through intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships, we commit to eliminating disparities, promoting empathy and kindness, and cultivating a culture of belonging. Our students will demonstrate knowledge and skills to be compassionate collaborators, informed thinkers, and engaged global citizens. So, thoughts? You want to make it bigger? Want me to print? Yeah, I can print it. Want me to print it? I'll print it.
Yeah, I just thought that so people can like read it.
I'll just print page 2, because that page 1 is like my notes. How many we got here? 12. Chloe.
Oh, I have a thought about the statement. I don't know, I feel like this might have been mentioned last time, but if not, did we think about maybe putting like housing status or something in there as well as socioeconomic status? I get a lot of the, I don't know who knows, but my mom is, she's like the homeless liaison, so I hear a lot about that at home, but it's definitely a thing in the school department that could very much limit your ability to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally if you have like an issue with housing, or maybe you're living in a different town because that's the only place that you can live right now with family or whatever. And I feel like that's definitely different than socioeconomic status. So I just brought that up in case people thought that should be in there.
No, we did talk about that last time. Thank you for the reminder on that. We definitely did address that and call that out specifically.
I don't know if housing status is the right word, but like I assume you guys understand what I mean when I say.
Yeah, I think we talked about changing that language to match what was on the letterhead, but I think we did also discuss.
Is that what all these are?
That's what all those are.
Okay,
But
that makes sense.
I agree that housing definitely, while not a legally protected status, definitely like falls into this in what we're talking about.
For schools, it's especially relevant since if someone is temporarily living outside of district, it can definitely limit their ability to whatever thrive in those ways.
There had been some feedback about removing the word regardless.
Yes.
And I think that no matter is the same thing in my mind.
You know what, Jen, I don't disagree.
It's hard.
Yeah, I need to phone a friend for this one, I think. Or we just need to maybe reword the sentence
I think
completely.
it needs to be reworded, yeah.
Okay, so it's the second one. I just have a really hard time because we talked about last time the importance of explicitly mentioning the groups, which I agree with. I'm just having a hard time with the grammar side of it in terms of how to do that without it kind of reading that way. So I don't know if anyone has suggestions.
I
Yeah.
have a suggestion.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm talking again. You could say, all, members of the NK educational community of all races, ethnicity, languages, religions, yada, 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 will be able to thrive academically. It's or reverse it in that way.
Okay, so just make it plural?
Right.
Okay.
Members of all. It's just an idea.
Or
I don't
like-
know, is there another way that wouldn't make it plural?
It's not plural, it's flipping it from a negative to a positive.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Which is
So like we're
probably
going from
good.
like no matter instead of like to of all. Like it's, to me,
Right.
it's flipping the.
So all
But then
members
it
of the
would also-
educational
you're right,
community,
make it
I'm gonna write it, because I just wanna make sure, so all members of the educational community,
Members of the NK educational community of all.
Like
members of the
ethnicity.
educational community of all, okay, so we're gonna say
Start
members, so it's, alright. Members of the educational community
But that opens up Pandora's box though, so hold on, because then we have to change all of them.
of all,
And it might
yeah,
be
so,
weird.
because it would have to be pluralized, so races,
There's
ethnicities,
just a couple letters.
languages,
Religions.
religions.
Socioeconomic statuses.
Socioeconomic,
Stati.
yeah,
At least it's not regardless.
Right, right.
statuses. Is that genders,
Someone looked that up.
gender identities or expressions?
Socioeconomic status, plural.
We welcome all NK educational community members of every race, ethnicity, language. Like, can we make it like a,
But we have to make sure we're talking about thriving academically, socially, and emotionally.
right, and believe in our ability to?
Google suggests that statuses is correct, but I think it's quite the mouthful.
It is.
Status can also be used as the plural.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I think it sounds fine as is.
Countries of ancestral origin.
Yeah, country.
Generations. Abilities.
Interrupted education.
Okay, how's that? Members of the NK should I put no things down? Okay, members of the NK educational community of all races, ethnicities, languages, religions, socioeconomic status, genders, gender identities or expressions, countries of ancestral origin, sexual orientations, interrupted education status, abilities or backgrounds will thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. We like that?
Yes.
What do we think?
Pass your English class, you've done it, seen it.
Well, maybe we could set that up.
Okay.
See me tomorrow.
I have to answer ABA edition, one of the protected civil rights categories is pregnancy. Is it worth mentioning? Pregnancy.
So I base this off of our district's anti-discrimination statement.
You're not wrong.
Again, not to say you're wrong, because it's not, that was why I tried to just base it off of that, you
I
know?
think it's also legally considered with ability and disability,
Okay,
which is a whole other issue, but I think legally.
yeah, oh. Yeah, cause that's a whole nother conversation, yeah.
So we're not limited to that though, so we could add other things.
We could.
Yeah.
And then
We could,
also we
but-
could think about
Because I'm a firm
the other
advocate
statement.
for housing status.
Yeah, I looked it up too, it's housing or food security status would be how you would say it, if you wanted to add it somewhere.
Yeah, 'cause
So
I think that's
socioeconomic
important.
doesn't include,
And I
doesn't
think-
cover that?
In
Well,
theory it could, but I was
But
just.
it's kind of different because housing status is like, it's not necessarily the same issue. Like, someone who has, who is, has struggling with poverty doesn't necessarily have the same struggles as someone who's struggling with homelessness, like, because a student who's struggling with homelessness, like, might be, like have to live in a different place and it might be hard for them to get to school.
They're not mutually exclusive.
You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it is different. And also, people aren't always homeless because of poverty. You know what I mean? Like, if there's a house fire or something,
Yeah.
like, it could be different
Mhm.
reasons.
Our little blurb at the bottom actually says, or any other category protected by law, which is where pregnancy would fall into and anything
Yeah.
else, so that's what our blurb
I
actually
do think it's
says.
interesting though to call it out, especially in a K-12
Yeah.
setting, where I think some students might see that as a barrier to their education and not feel supported if they were to be pregnant, and
Yeah.
so in the particular setting, I think that one might be
Yeah.
important.
I think so too.
And I agree with the housing and I added or food security,
Yeah.
but,
And I know, like, students who are pregnant, so,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's definitely, like, not, like, a non-issue,
No, it's not, yeah.
or at least, you know, my peers who have done.
And I do think as the list gets longer, what the last thing we should do is format it and have the statement formatted in a certain way, and so it might not look like this very long sentence, like in my mind, it wouldn't look like that.
So you said housing security,
Housing or
status?
food
Housing?
security status is how the internet told me you would write it.
And then you said pregnancy?
Well, there's definitely a different way to say that one too.
Pregnancy or parental status.
Pregnancies.
Pregnancy or parental status?
I just said that, but I don't know if that's a thing.
Okay.
I think
Give me 2 seconds.
we call it
I don't
out
know
in
about
our,
pregnancies, we might just have to make this one singular.
Pregnancies.
It says pregnancy
Multiple.
status.
Yeah.
Pregnancy status,
Yeah, I think that's,
pregnancy.
case they're cool.
The other option is pregnancy or parenting responsibilities, but those
I
are
like
different.
parenting responsibilities.
Hmm.
Or even like caregiver responsibilities.
Mm.
I'm just gonna say, how long is this sentence gonna be?
As long as it has to be, a lot of
Really?
commas.
Yeah, because if you don't feel seen, then you're not in it. And so I think even though, like, to not list all of the potential things that our students might need to see called out because of length to me is not the purpose of it. And so, like, with that conversation of like none or all, like, I think it has to be a little bit longer. And like I said, we could figure out a way to format it, do a table, do something that makes it look visually absorbable, but I don't think
Okay,
I think it's worth, in this moment, in this town, calling out specific things for people. And maybe we'll get to a place where we don't need to do that because people will understand better, but I don't know if we're there right now. That's just my opinion.
no, I agree, I agree with what you're saying. My question though is like, we all know that there's going to be a future where there's gonna be statuses that we aren't necessarily mindful of now that.
You can evolve it.
Right, so I'm just saying, asking it from a practicality standpoint, you know what I mean, in terms of the sentence, like how it looks, you know what I mean? I'm just afraid of the message getting lost a little bit. You know, like I'm afraid of that, like just the message getting a little bit lost.
I agree, but I also feel like we could evolve it as it like comes. Because if you try to shorten the sentence now, I feel like we could go back to kind of like the blanket statements. I forgot who said it last time, but if you go back to like the blanket statements, like some people might feel left out if they don't see themselves in there. So I say we list everything now, and if new things come up, we just evolve it then.
Yeah, cause this
Everything,
shouldn't be
yeah.
something that we look at once and never look at again. Like,
Yeah.
it should be something that is being reviewed and updated as our, you know, commitment to and practices around equity evolve.
Mhm.
I have a question.
Mhm.
So if we put if we're like putting all of the things here, which I think is great, my only question about that is, there are certain things that are protected, like, by, like, under the school rules and under the law and stuff like that. My only concern is if we put something in this list that isn't actually, like, under Title IX or whatever it might be, and then someone feels like, you know, like, I'm not able to thrive because of this, and we can't, like, do anything about it in the way that they would want, is that, like, a problem? Or, like, can we still do something about it if it doesn't actually do you understand what I'm asking?
Mhm.
Like, I don't wanna make a promise that we can't keep, or can't keep through, like, you know, direct action.
So are you saying, like, if there's no legal action around what you're, like,
Right.
feeling is preventing you from thriving, like, that we shouldn't?
No, I
Then
don't
whether
think we
there's a
shouldn't, I just
concern-
like bringing it up, it's a
Yeah.
concern, does that make
Right,
sense?
no, it does make sense, it does
Like-
make sense. But just so, let me just, so in our district harassment policy, right?
Right.
Like if you are being harassed, but it doesn't rise to the level of a Title IX complaint, we can
Right.
still proceed with a harassment
Okay, right,
complaint.
harassment.
Yes.
But does our harassment policy list like a list of things that,
No.
like
No,
this
it doesn't
is,
list
so
everything.
it's okay,
Yeah.
okay, then I'm no longer
Yeah,
concerned.
it's a very valid point to bring up.
That's kind of
though.
what I was wondering
Yeah.
about, if there was something like that, that it doesn't have to like be any of a specific thing.
Yeah, it doesn't define,
Okay.
like, you, it must
Yeah.
fall into these buckets
Well,
or
but I
else.
think that's important because if you have that question, others will. And so that's like with the rollout of this, having everybody understand that even if there's no legal consequence or whatever, there are still potential sanctions if
Mhm.
you're not abiding by this.
Right.
And that students, everybody needs to know that.
Yeah, you have to remember this sentence too. What you're saying is right with the anti-harassment stuff, but this sentence was will thrive academically, socially, and emotionally. So
Right.
that's what we're saying is
Mhm.
regardless
Yeah,
of any of
yeah.
these things, we want you to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally too. So your point's super valid, Chloe, but it's not like
Right, yeah.
It's not the same thing.
yeah, it's,
Right.
Yeah.
yeah.
I wanna make sure that we're making a distinction between the purpose of this statement
Yeah.
and what we're also talking about here, which is like, discrimination,
Yeah.
harassment, yeah. So,
Right, this
yeah.
is like a vision statement.
This is a vision statement,
Right,
right,
that makes
right,
sense.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But to your question, no, it does not matter. To
Okay.
Jen's, like Title IX's one thing, but then harassment can be.
I just wanted to make sure, cause I think like,
It's a good
there's
question.
definitely like
Yeah,
a
no, it
potential
is.
for students to be like, hey, like, there's a barrier for my ability to thrive academically, socially, and emotionally despite this. Like, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't the type of thing where we couldn't actually do anything with it.
No, that's a good point. Dave?
I agree with Dr. Earl, what you said about being seen or seeing yourself in the statement, giving it a bit more power. I wonder if there could be something maybe at the bottom of the statement saying, we see you, we wanna see more of you if you feel like you've been left out or aren't represented here, please reach out to whomever.
I love that.
So. How do you wanna phrase that, Dave? Like, how, you just said it in a good way.
We see you, we want to see more of you.
I,
Okay.
yeah.
If you don't feel that you are represented with the statement.
If you
To build
Do
on your
not-
idea, and if you like your version better,
No,
stick with it.
feel.
I wrote down, we see you, if you don't see yourself in this statement, reach out
That's perfect.
to
We,
X.
okay, repeat that again. We see you, say
You
it
sure? Cause I like your
Yeah,
version too.
I like that. Yes.
We see you, and then I put like dot dot dot. If you don't see yourself in this statement, please reach out to, and then you could list some way to do it.
If you don't see yourself in this statement. Please reach out to, and then we'll figure it out. Okay. Okay.
Can we just change one of the learnings? Everyone in our learning community will apply their learning, so we don't use it twice.
Everyone in our learning community will apply their learning, that is redundant, yes. Everyone just in our community?
I think that's fine.
Yeah.
One thing I thought of, in the last statement is, I used the word informed thinkers, and I thought a little bit more, and I thought, what about critical thinkers? I personally would kinda like critical better.
I feel like we can almost add both critical and informed, cause like, you know, the idea that like you're thinking deeply about things, but also that you're kind of informed, like the broad, like community.
Okay.
If you're equipped with the knowledge to think.
Robert, in a grammar statement, the sentence that says everyone in our community will apply their learning, can take out in ways. and say everyone in our community will apply their learning both personally meaningful and socially responsible. That is both personally meaningful and socially responsible. And you could take out the comma.
Thank you. Does that, does both sound a little awkward there? Is that, is just
You don't
me?
need it either, right? That is
That
personally
is, that is
meaningful.
both, that is personally meaningful and socially responsible. I think I don't know, it's just me.
Could take that.
Everyone in our community will apply their learning that is both personally meaningful and socially responsible. I feel like there's a word missing.
Yeah.
I feel there's a word missing. Everyone in our community will apply their learning.
It just, you don't need like in ways,
Yeah.
I think you need less words.
Yes,
In
everyone
personally meaningful and socially responsible ways.
Will apply their learning in,
Personally meaningful and socially
Personally-
responsible ways.
So getting rid of ways that are both.
in ways.
We could get rid
No,
of that.
in,
No.
In ways both
personally-
personally meaningful.
In personally meaningful and socially responsible ways.
Ways, yeah.
Ways,
Yes,
yeah.
Yep.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. That-
Did we add the critical to the informed thinkers part? I
Do we
Googled
wanna
it.
do both?
I think I do want both, cause I
Bless you.
Googled what critical thinking is, bless you.
Thank you.
And it actually isn't about being informed, like it's about
Right.
taking information and analyzing, evaluating and interpreting it, so I do think that concept of being informed about something and then critically
Right.
thinking about what you were informed about could be distinctly could be separate if you wanted it to be.
We equip them with the knowledge to critically think.
Yeah, in theory, you can't have one without the other, like.
yeah, no, I agree.
Not successful, just saying.
I guess and maybe I'm overthinking this,
Yeah.
but my sort of worry with informed is that I feel like there's so much information that is out there that people, that it can be, you can be informed without necessarily having the right information, or like, I don't know, am I overthinking this? I'm thinking, like, that's why I almost think like,
Not in a bad way, but like,
But that's what the critical thinking piece does.
Yeah.
If you take in
Yeah,
all of
okay.
that information
And
and
you
be able
sort
to
it through.
sift out what is too
Yeah.
much, what is not relevant, what is blah, blah, blah.
okay.
So my other, since we're doing like little things, is that, where did it go? I know we moved from like passive to active, right, to be like more like intentional, but we commit to eliminating disparities. I feel like, I think we changed it from reducing to eliminating. I feel like eliminating is huge goal. Like, I'm not sure eliminating is, cause there's always gonna be disparities. Like, I don't think reducing is right, I don't think eliminating is right.
Is
But
it like revealing or naming or?
calling out, like
Acknowledging.
acknowledging and acknowledge, like. Cause I feel like if we say we're gonna commit to eliminate disparities, that is a goal that is not possible.
Okay.
But I think to, like you said, name them, and say we see these and we are gonna take active steps to improve them is more in keeping with being equitable. Does that make
Realistic,
sense?
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making sense.
No,
Makes a lot of sense.
That's what we had
Strive
in there
to?
before, I think we had strive and then we took it out.
we want to be stronger.
we want to be
Right,
stronger.
we wanna be
Like
stronger.
the way I remember reading it before is, yeah, we were like, it kind of sounded a little bit like,
Well, no, is it an equity vision statement, or is that, what's this called, equity statement? Like, you want it to be the ideal, in my opinion, like, you want it to be that high level, like, not like this, but like where, like way up here
Okay.
vision, so even if something's not, in your brain, if it's not possible, it actually is possible, it just would be really, really, really hard, you know,
Okay.
so, I don't know, you kinda have to decide like what tone you want on it.
improving. What do we think about improving disparities?
No, I
It's
don't
gonna
know.
improve disparities.
You don't know?
I'm fine with eliminating.
I hear what you're saying.
I mean, I agree that it's a very lofty goal, potentially unattainable in our lifetime, but if we're continually, if that's what we envision, because that's what we start with, and we're committing to working toward eliminating, we're gonna keep on working. Right, until it's,
Okay.
You can have one.
might be,
What? No, have one. Have two.
well, we can keep going.
Right.
Ideally.
Thank you.
You should eat one so I feel less guilty about it.
Don't worry, Chloe, I'll leave one.
Okay, so,
Good, thank
You can
you.
revisit it later.
So,
too.
yeah, we can leave it eliminating, I just feel like
Oh, it's going down.
It's big.
You want to?
it's big, very big. I mean, big goals aren't bad, but
Also helps disparity.
I think, I don't know what I hear where you're coming from.
Just do it.
Oh,
Like, I hear where you're coming from on this. I just don't know what better word we can choose.
no, because on
I'm
the flip
lost.
side, you don't wanna be like, we'll try, but who knows? Like,
Right.
because
Maybe
that's the danger to not saying eliminate.
Right.
So, I mean, if I had to pick, I'd rather go to lofty than to
Then like a half measure.
low bar,
Yeah, yeah. All right, we'll keep it.
It's a vision.
Right.
It's not a reality yet.
No.
Maybe in 100 years.
We were on the sentence that starts with through intentional policies. You're welcome. All right, so. We're gonna add food and security, housing security and food status. I'm gonna shape that up later, because I wanted to try to make it read well. Is there anything else in the statement that is worthy of discussion or feedback?
I still have some concerns about that section through intentional policies, practice, and community partnerships. I just think it raises questions, and there's just no understanding of what that is.
Okay.
So, once again, like, I think either eliminate it or explain it more. I mean, I think even putting an asterisk and then maybe putting more information there might be the answer. Thank you so much. But it's just not a clear and transparent statement.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying that that language, what is not explicit enough?
I think it invites people to wonder what those policies, practices, and community partnerships are. And rather than just eliminating it and saying we commit to eliminating disparities, you're inviting people to ask for more information from that, and if it's not explained to me, it seems, it doesn't seem transparent enough
Okay.
there.
I understand it to be that this is a statement, the way I see it is, this is a statement about the what. That's what a vision statement is. It's about the what. What do we want to envision, for lack of, right, a better word? What is it that we are seeing that we want to work towards? You're right, in that phrase is kind of alluding to the how, right? It's alluding to the how, but it's not going, it's not getting deep into the how. I don't think the purpose of the statement is to get into the how, but I think that where that phrase comes from is the fact that we are making a slight reference to, like, to get where we want to be. These are some of the strategies, or these are some of the actions that we intend to take. So I think it's a question of whether that should be in it, is what you're bringing up, is whether that allusion to the how should be there.
Right, because if I looked at that, I would say, okay, what policies, practices, and community partnerships exist? Then what are those things? That would be my question next, looking at that statement. So I think it just invites more I mean, I think there needs to be preparation then to know what that is, because it invites.
Yeah. So that's where I go back to Melissa's point that she brought up at the last meeting, is that we have an explicit connection between this and like a website where they can reference the specifics and the details, what you're kind of alluding to, the depth of that.
And I think you can fix that by putting a hyperlink
Mm-hmm.
there with an asterisk, and then it connects right to it.
All right.
But to your point, some of that needs to be known now. Like if this is going on a website
Yes.
and we
Right.
do the hyperlink, there's
It
answers
is
to that
happening
how to
now.
question
It is
it.
happening now. I could write you lists and lists and lists of different things that the school committee and the administration is doing right now. So it's not that this is like it's currently happening. We can organize it very easily, I think. I wonder, to your point though, because the way I envision this is it's not just on a website, but I am a big person where you say it a lot and you see it a lot, right? So I hope that we get to a world where this is on walls, on banners, and at the beginning of the school committee meetings, I read it every time. So it's that thing where you're doing that repetitive piece of it. And so although we'll be able to have all that supplemental information, like this will live alone and won't have hyperlinks and won't have things in certain settings, right? And so I wonder if, to your point, you say something like, we commit to like questioning X, like revisiting Y or advancing Z, like it's not about like through, but like we're committed to looking at policies to see how we can make them more equitable, kind of saying it a little differently so that it's a little bit more clear that the commitment is to the continuous evolving of these things, not like the searching for them. I don't know, it's a little different, but it might help.
Yeah, I
I don't
think the
know.
wording just makes it, it's going to invite people to want to pull more information there, because it sounds to me like, okay, there's current policies that do exist. There's practices that the school committee has in place, and then there's already community partnerships developed, and I would wanna see that. So, and if that's there, that's great, like, in my view, like, the community project that happened would be great to call out, for example, of some of the actions that happened.
Mhm.
But I just think that'll invite people to want to be more informed about what that is, because it's so ambivalent, right? It's a very ambivalent statement, it could be anything.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. What are the group's thoughts on that?
I think it's very broad here. It truly could be anything, and maybe different schools eventually will start sharing and providing on their own websites ways that they are doing it. I know that we reach out to community partnerships. We've recently at our school partnered with, what is the name of the farm down at the end that we raised the chicks with them?
Casey
Farm?
Casey
Yeah.
Farm, I believe, and so we partnered with them, they brought chicks for our Bridges program to nurture and raise and tend to for a while, and it brought all of the other classes into that room to meet and interact with those students and the chicks. So I think it'll look different in different places. Also at Davisville, we also have a lot of speakers coming in to promote diversity. We've had drummers and dancers and just a whole wide variety of partnerships with other people from the community to show that like we're intentionally, like it is intentional that what we're doing, we're trying to build our community. So it will look, I think, probably one way on the district level, but in a school level or in a class level, it might look very different. But we would be able to see that throughout, I think, the ripple effect.
I agree that it should, like, the statement could, like, be molded to, like, different, like, specific situations and stuff. Be different for different people and things like that, instead of just doing a whole broad thing for everybody in the school district or in certain situations. You could, like, mold it to, like, be more accommodating for them in certain situations and stuff like that.
I almost wonder if you, because it's for everyone, right? So in theory, you would want, if a kindergartner saying it all the way up to the superintendent, you'd want it to be actionable for them in whatever zone or area they have. And so I almost feel like we should change that sentence, because like a kindergartner can't, in theory, create a community partnership, right? Like we want it to be for everyone to be able to, like, you know, so I wonder if it's something a little bit different than that, because it's not, if you're like saying it as like in North Kingstown schools, we envision da 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 da, like we commit to blah blah blah, like you want it to be like everyone is in that space. Does that make sense?
This is one example that's a little bit different, not quite what you said, but it's a little different than that, but kind of touches on it. This is from another school. It says, we commit to identifying and removing barriers in North Kingstown policies, procedures, systems, and practices that limit opportunities for students and result in predictably lower academic achievement for any student group compared to their peers. So not quite that, but a little different.
That's a lot clearer in my view. To me, that is not as clear, and I think that's the issue I have. It just, people are going to imagine what they want in that, and I think you'll just invite parents to come and question that statement, vice it being like a more clear statement, like, no, these things are designed to eliminate disparities, promote empathy and kindness, and we're going to use those, however that was worded, Jennifer, I thought that was better than the current one we have.
I just wanted to chime in, and everyone might not agree with this, but I just personally just wanted to say, because I hadn't heard anyone say the same thing as I'm about to say, but I personally don't mind through intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships, because I think that we are already doing that, and it is our plan to continue doing that, but it's a vision statement, and so I feel like it's a vision. It's not a statement of what we're doing, and it's not even a distinct plan of what we're about to do. It's a vision for the future, and so I think it's okay to have something in it in our vision, we will be using intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships to eliminate disparities, et cetera, and that's our vision. I don't know that we're saying that that's something that we're necessarily doing right now, even though we are, because of the very nature of the statement as a vision statement.
And I think to your point and to your point, like I think a kindergartner does have intentional practices. They don't know what that means, but they do have it, right? So I do think it's broad, and I think it is encompassing. I don't mind getting rid of it. I don't care either way.
Yeah, I don't mind getting rid of it, but I don't personally have
But
a
I don't
problem
hate it
with
either,
Yeah.
so.
I think it's not necessarily bad because of the nature of what the statement is.
I agree that I'm kind of like, no strong feeling either way, and that, you know, maybe not that language, but my kindergartner gets some of those concepts, and we can talk about that. And Erin, to your point about, you know, this might not just be on the website, this might be, you know, in a framed, you know, print on the wall. We could think of ways to still make, to answer that question of what is happening, you know, is it a QR code that directs you to where those answers are? And it might not be the prettiest, but.
Yeah, like to Dave's point, if someone was like, well, what are you doing? I could answer that question.
Yeah.
How about if you rephrase it, we commit to crafting intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships together to eliminate disparities, promote empathy.
Great, I love that.
way it's-
I love that.
Everyone is included.
We commit to crafting intentional policy, practices, and community partnerships.
Together to
Together
eliminate.
to.
Okay, so let's read that, let's try that. We commit to crafting?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
creating, whichever.
I like crafting. It feels handsy.
Too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
artsy.
Yeah.
Pardon my colors, it's just. You're kind of stuck in my world of colors.
Scaring your brain.
Yeah,
This is green
kinda.
now.
Yeah, what's that?
No, I just like the way you think. This is
Yeah,
green.
yeah.
This part's yellow.
So we're gonna say, we commit we commit to crafting intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships. Together.
What color is together?
Together.
Green, okay.
To eliminate.
Disparities, promote empathy and kindness, and cultivate a culture of belongings. I like it. I like what it does to the verbs.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Or like, we're doing this together.
I would say one thing.
Say it,
Maybe
Dave.
Maybe start with together, comma.
Okay. Ooh.
Ooh. Yes.
Flows better.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like
yes.
But I do
Poor
think
Rob is like, wait, sorry.
No, it's all right. It's all right. We're all right. Rob's fine.
Together.
Rob's fine. Together. We commit to crafting intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships. In order to? Or just to?
Two.
Okay.
Like a passive language complaint.
Okay. To eliminate disparities, promote empathy and kindness, and cultivate a culture of belonging.
Done. Beautiful. Print it. Print it again.
Lock it up. I think that's so much clearer, so.
Together, we commit to crafting intentional. All right. I like that too. I like that too. Do we craft practices?
Gosh.
I'm sorry. You do? That make sense?
Yeah, it's like pulling together, creating.
Okay.
Crafting.
Yeah.
I do think you
Yeah,
can use
Mhm.
practices, but you
I would not use craft, but that's okay.
I wouldn't
They-
either.
The people
but-
like it, and
No,
so.
okay, I'm
People
just,
like it.
I'm,
The people seemed excited about the word craft.
no, I'm excited too. I just wanna make sure it fits.
Rob's jabbing
I
over his
just
head
wanna
is
make-
about
I
to
wanna make sure it
explode
fits
when
with all
he
the
said
other
the
words.
word
Here we go.
craft.
I have another move for together then. Could it be, we commit to weaving intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships together to eliminate? And use, instead of crafting, weaving?
Okay, so now we're starting, so we're not gonna start with, okay.
We're specifying the type of brand.
Yes.
You know, insieme is together in Italian, so what if we just said to start, insieme,
Provided a link to Google.
juntos, we commit.
You can say crafting techniques, crafting methods.
I'm not making fun.
This
Crafting
is
practices.
I would craft a practice.
I would have to practice.
I have a document from a long time ago that like had all examples that we had started with, and this school had, and don't get thrown by this, but just marinate in it for 2 seconds. This school has one that says, to that effect, this is the end of theirs, so they say this nice statement, then they say, to that effect, we commit to identifying and removing barriers in whatever school they were. Removing in CHPS policies, procedures, systems, and practices, and then it goes on to say that limit opportunities for students, and so it goes on to a different like journey, but
That's
like
the one I just read, yeah.
with the policy, procedure, systems, and practices one?
Mhm.
Oh, okay. I do think that that makes it a little broader, like, than just practices, policies, and community partnerships. Like, I think if you're talking about systems and, like, it makes it a little wider, like, as far as that piece. But,
Like adding in like examining systems, is that what you're proposing?
I was just trying to think of what wasn't included in it if you just have policies, practices, and community partnerships.
Policies, procedures, systems, and practices, which we don't have all of those in there.
Yeah, that's what, like, I think
Yeah,
we're missing
yep.
pieces.
We're
Like, there's
missing
not, it's
procedures
not,
and
like, there could be
systems,
things that aren't
yeah.
in there. Like, I was thinking about what Dave was saying about, like, in the schools, like, if they're changing things, like, that's a change in procedure. Like, that's a change in a system or what, you know, like, it's not, I don't know, it just, like, isn't quite enough for me. And then the community partnership one, although I really like it, I think it's like misplaced, for lack of a better word. Like, I like the concept of like with the community, but I think it's so much more than just that.
Okay. Because we're back,
Okay.
because we're back at the beginning.
So are we saying we commit to identifying and removing barriers in policies, procedures, systems, and practices to eliminate disparities?
Like, we're not just crafting policies, we're editing policies, we're updating policies, like, you know, like, I don't know, we're not just creating new ones, they can, you can fix the old ones too.
Yeah, crafting.
Yeah, that's snipping and trimming.
Decoupaging.
I feel like
Think
that's
about
what, that's the power of
Scrapbooking.
craft.
How about this?
Crocheting.
How about this?
Weaving.
I'm like,
Together we
Weaving.
commit-
I'm
how
gonna
about
Google
this?
it, y'all.
Back
How
to
about this?
weaving.
Can it be this simple?
Definition of
Together we
crafting.
commit to take, together we commit to taking action to eliminate disparities for empathy and kindness.
I like the word action.
How about
Great,
Okay.
great.
that?
Yes.
Kind of,
Say it full one more time.
together we commit to taking action to eliminate disparities, promote empathy and kindness, and cultivate a culture of belonging.
No, but then you just left out the whole policies, practices, procedures thing, which
Yep.
is how we're actually doing it. I don't think you can leave that out.
Well, I think what Rob was saying is by adding like action, that you're saying like, we're gonna actually do stuff in these, like, for these things. Like, it's implied, no, okay,
I
no,
feel like
okay.
commit
No.
kind of
We
already
tried.
says
Okay,
that.
but you were just saying we want to do more than what we had there. No? You said the policies, practices, and
If
partnerships.
I was
maybe
saying if
why.
we're keeping that part, I think you need to have in procedures and maybe systems, but I could think
But,
about
I mean,
systems.
I feel like we could
We could add in procedure.
add in a lot of other things, no? I don't know.
I mean, I'm okay with policies and practices. I like policies, procedures, systems, and practices, but I don't think we could just say action, because to me that's very vague. Like, we're gonna do something.
Really?
When really, like, in order to eliminate disparities, we have to change our policies and practices. To just say action is just say, oh, well, we'll do something. It doesn't name what it is that we're going to do.
Okay.
I like systems.
I think
Action
if,
could
I think
be
if we,
sending
but
somebody
I'll
a
say this
memo.
though, I don't disagree, but I think if we're gonna name things, we have to acknowledge the fact that we're probably not gonna name all the things we're gonna be able to do.
But I think policies and practices is a pretty basic level thing that people need to change when they're going to do equity work.
Oh, it's systems.
Systems.
Okay, what about
Well,
procedures?
Yeah,
Or
those are,
protocols?
those are
Isn't the
policies and
alliteration.
practices.
Right.
Policies, practices, procedure.
See, I
That
see
was
policy and
nice.
practice very different,
Yeah.
And partnerships.
right? Policy comes from one group. Practice comes from day to day, right? Practice is what we do. Policy is official. Culture, how about culture? No?
I think we're at the limit of
Yeah.
wordsmithing today.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we are too.
We're not getting
not.
better,
We're
it's
just-
like
We're just
collectively.
thinking
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we made progress on it, it's
We
just
did.
not, I
Yeah.
don't know,
Agreed.
you only have 10 minutes left.
I second.
Yeah,
Okay.
I just would say, in reviewing equity statements from a lot of other districts, they all specifically name policies
And I'm fine with that.
and practices.
I just wanna, if, I'm fine,
Yeah.
like that, I'm on board with that 100%. I just also think if we're going to kind of explicitly name some
Yep.
things, we also have to acknowledge that we're not gonna be able to name everything.
Yeah, I agree,
Okay,
but I don't think we should name
But
nothing.
it's a vision,
Okay.
so it's okay.
What if we said actions including but not limited to policies and procedures?
That's fine.
that's both.
But that-
I would just,
Yeah, then you just leave
Yeah,
it.
I would just leave it. All right,
Okay.
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So aside from adding housing status and food insecurity status to here, which you're gonna do in that.
And
okay,
pregnancy.
And pregnancy status. So
Mhm.
then, once you make that change, what's the next step from here in your mind?
So we have here that we're gonna add the housing, food security, pregnancy status. We're gonna add the statement at the end
Yep.
that we talked about. We have to figure out who we're doing the please reach out to too, but that'll be another conversation. We're not hyperlinking to the DEI website, we kind of touched on that, but we didn't necessarily make a firm decision.
I
that-
think we can,
Okay.
but just know that it also stands alone on its own sometimes.
And
Right.
that everything needs to be organized.
Right, but assuming that we get to that point, we're gonna, because again, vision, we're gonna say that we're gonna link to we're gonna insert the hyperlink here under intentional policies, practices, and community partnerships. That's where we're inserting the hyperlink we talked about? Everybody cool with, okay. Alright, and, oops. And, that's what we have for now. Do we want anything, do we wanna have anything else to look into for next time?
So, just a reminder of how this process started. So initially this went out to community members, students, faculty. You took the feedback, it came to us, we did this last time, and then we do this again. So have the administrators at all the buildings and at Central Admin, have they provided like specific input on any version of the drafts yet?
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah. Yep.
Should the new version go back, maybe?
We can do that.
Or, like, I guess the question is, like, who needs to see it next?
Yeah.
Like, to move it forward, like, is it ready for the school committee, or is it ready, or is it not ready for the school committee? Like, do we need more, like, feedback or buy-in on the current draft? Or edits?
I think, I feel like we had some good discussions around this, which I think has been really good and important, you know? I don't wanna tip over to the point where we're over discussing.
You're done talking.
No, I'm not saying that. Not saying that. Not saying that at all. I'm saying that sometimes analysis can kind of.
I hear you, yep.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Can be
Yeah.
overkill a little bit, right? So I think that we have to, sometimes like, you know, we're in the weeds, sometimes we gotta take a step back, kind of just remember what we're doing, you know what I mean? And I think we have to look at it maybe through the lens of, is this getting across the spirit of what we intend? You know, without it, knowing that we're not gonna love every word, we're not gonna agree upon every word, we're not gonna necessarily all get everything we want, right? But we can move forward saying that this is something that we all believe in the spirit of what it is expressing, I guess is my point. Is that something we can agree to, William?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, it gets the point across, like, perfectly fine. Like, what the message we're trying to get across is, like, done with this message. And there's also the fact we could, like, this isn't, like you said, this isn't something that we just lay out there and set aside and never come back to. This is something that can evolve and, like, constantly we can revise. Like, it's not always gonna be perfect the first time. You just, like, eventually you're gonna have to come back to it and revise and evolve it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It always, any, you're absolutely right. Anything that is a statement of this sort is never just like, if it's put aside and never talked about again, it's not effective. It's always, we regularly revisit it.
So should we take a vote to see whether this committee feels comfortable sending it up to the school committee?
Was that on the agenda that we could do that?
Yeah, everything is always with possible action.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's just like the language, adding
Sure.
those, and then the ability disability.
So.
Because she was coming back.
Yeah,
next
she
month.
was, Mary was gonna come back with the ability disability thing. That's one thing that we talked about kind
Oh
of her.
no, this one did not
You
have a
cannot-
possible
you can't
action,
do
or
it.
we cannot vote on this
Okay,
one.
yeah,
So-
I-
The Robert's
yeah.
Rules Nest says you
Yep,
can't vote on
yeah.
it today.
No, I picked that up.
So I guess in the interim, if you feel that your administration, because of the change from student-centered to full community-centered,
Mhm.
should be brought into that conversation,
Mhm.
you have a month to do that. How's that?
No problem. Yeah, we'll
Okay.
definitely, we'll
Okay.
definitely discuss this
Okay.
as a
All
group,
right.
for sure.
Okay,
Yep.
and then we will vote on this next time.
Yep.
Okay.
I think something too to remember is that one of our goals was to have it be able to be understood by all in the all in the school communities, and so making sure, like, grade level wise, that the younger students can read and understand it. And so that's something that we should probably test as we're, like, wordsmithing fancy sounding words, is that, like, you know, have younger little eyes on it to get a sense to see if they would understand it. I think that was important to us, and I thought that was a good point.
So maybe you could share that with some of the elementary principals, Rob, and see if you
Absolutely.
get their.
Maybe some of the student
All right, so
councils
we're
or
gonna add
somebody,
your-
and not like full edit vibes, but hey, are there any words in here that you don't understand, or you don't, you know, that sort of thing.
I can ask Jason to take a look at
Okay, let's say, so next time we're gonna do bring to admin.
Alex will want to learn the check or something. We
Let's
haven't
see.
investigated
Let's find
that
out.
yet.
And we're going to elementary student review.
And then just the only other thing, before we adjourn is, the other item on the agenda, which we won't have time to discuss tonight, but I wanted to add it to bring visibility to it, is to discuss, and we have been just discussing current practices and ways to increase diversity in the workforce. We've been talking about this for a while. This was actually one of the original recommendations, one of the original pieces of the equity audit that we had to take off in order to save money, and we have been talking about it. But I wanted to raise it up today because in the equity PD, the question was asked, what equity issues keep you up at night? And I thought it was very interesting that the number one equity issue that keeps Dr. Murray Johnson up at night is the fact that there are no teachers in the district that look like her children. And I think that's a very crucial thing, and it just is a reminder that, representation matters, and we are not a district that has diverse teaching staff. In any aspect, and so I think I wanna call us back to the fact that that is an area that we need to be really doing some intentional work around. So
Agree.
that'll be on the agenda for next time.
Did we ever get the data that we had asked for regarding that?
No.
Okay, so that might be somewhere to
Yep.
start, is trying to figure out what our baseline is,
Yep.
because I don't think that statement, I don't know if she used the word all, but, I wanna acknowledge that. I don't know,
Not
like,
all, but
yeah.
few.
Yeah, not proportionate to our student
Yeah.
population is how I
Correct.
would probably say it, and so, but I would love to see the data on like what our base is, so that we understand where we're going from, and also thinking about what we're including in that definition of C and whatnot.
The last data I have is several years old at this point, so I think we need an update on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to follow up on that?
Please, yeah.
Okay. So that was the data that had to do with employment and
We have the student demographics,
yeah.
it's staff demographics
staff
that we don't have,
demographics,
yeah.
okay.
So I think it's also good to have tangible goals, like you're not gonna go from X to Y in 1 year, and so kind of understanding your baseline and then what our goals are and what our percentage of goals and how we would get there is important, cause if not, we won't feel like we're making impact or progress, but if we kinda know where we're starting, it might help.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, I will make a motion to adjourn, can I get a second?
Second.
Alright, let me go turn the thing off.
Thanks, everybody.
Getting into the,
All in favor?
Yeah, oh, sorry.
I know, but.
Thanks for all your work on that, Rob. Do I wait to stand until the?
It's fun.